As someone that had never played Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, or Super Mario Galaxy, I couldn't have been more excited when Nintendo announced Super Mario 3D All-Stars, a collection of the 3 titles for Nintendo Switch. Finally sitting down to play them, I understood how someone could revere a game like Super Mario 64 in 1996 as something revolutionary. Unfortunately, Nintendo has decided to preserve 64 and Sunshine as they were at the time, to the detriment of experiencing them in the present day, where both titles would have been improved with better controls found in more modern 3D Mario games. That being said, you could have told me Super Mario Galaxy was a brand new game, and I would have believed you, ultimately making this collection worth picking up. One of the biggest queries people had after the announcement of Super Mario 3D All-Stars was, where is Super Mario Galaxy 2? For me, playing this collection answers that question. It's not so much about the games themselves, as it is about the evolution of them. The advancements and differences between the 3 titles is drastic, and with this game being released as a celebration of the Italian Plumber's 35th anniversary, 3D All-Stars feels like an intentional showcase of these improvements. Having Galaxy 2 would have diluted this intention, as it's a fine-tuning of its direct predecessor's gameplay, rather than a galactic leap forward for the series. Booting up Super Mario 64, I was impressed by what the game was doing for a title that's 24 years old, and how much of its DNA the latest 3D entry Super Mario Odyssey had retained. Transporting myself back to childhood and thinking of the content-light experiences that made up the majority of gaming then, no wonder Super Mario 64 with its hidden levels and non-linear structure blew people's minds. Things like that are things to this day that it still does better than most other new games in the genre. Getting in the way of my marveling at the game was its outdated controls, its archaic camera combined with the fact that Mario plays like an exuberant slab of butter that slips and slides their way through the world, made for an at times maddening experience. Recently, the only games that stir a desire within me to slam my controller on the table in frustration have been of the Dark Souls variety. I did not expect that impulse to be awoken playing this game. Moving from 64 to Sunshine was like being in a shipwreck but finding a buoyant and spacious piece of wood that was carrying me toward land on a distant horizon. What that game does with its mechanics over its predecessor is for the most part an improvement, at points shockingly so, for a game that was only 6 years out from it. The camera is a lot easier to maneuver, and Mario feels like he is working with more grip on his shoes. The focused tropical theme that many players have derided over the years for repetitive level design, to me works in the game's favor for the most part, although occasionally there's some over-design that feels somewhat aimless and more of a showcase of, look how complex we can make levels now. I found enjoyment in the divisive flood that is at the center of the gameplay, with it having enough of a unique hook and variety of uses that its implementation was justified. Super Mario Galaxy is the land on the distant horizon, where I have washed ashore, and to my amazement it is a luscious and bountiful island that leaves me wanting for nothing. While this may not be news to some, Divine Galaxy is not only my favorite 3D Mario to date, but one of my favorite games of all time, exceeded my already high expectations of it. Here, the flaws of 64 and Sunshine are simply non-existent, with razor-sharp level design, pinpoint accurate gameplay, and stunningly unique gravity mechanics that effectively evolve over the course of the game. Where I found myself slogging through portions of the first 2 titles, I moved through Galaxy as if orbiting the sun, gracefully slingshotted across the game, unable to pull myself away from its gravity. To me, its inclusion alone is worth the $60 asking price, with 64 and Sunshine simply as bonuses. And I would easily spend another $60 on a port of Galaxy 2, which seems like a calculated intention to its exclusion by Nintendo. My love for Galaxy is tainted slightly by my messy feelings towards Sunshine and 64. While playing the 64 and GameCube titles, my partner said something to the effect of they were the only games that they had, so they learned to love them. In talking with other players that grew up with these games in their life, it seems like that sentiment is, for the most part, a shared one. Players replaying these games that experience them front to back over and over again are probably going to comfortably nestle in their nostalgia, able to compensate for their shortcomings by knowing exactly how to effectively move through them. Retaining the games as they were is the intention of the package as a retrospective, it doesn't stop the exclusion of revised mechanics feeling like an incredibly missed opportunity to make these games something someone would actually want to play today. 64 is just the original game with a high-definition gloss over it. Its lack of widescreen, which is afforded to the port of Sunshine, exacerbates the camera issues, as what is unseen out of the player's field of view tends to result in the most deaths. It even lacks some of the additions like extra levels and collectibles that came with the Nintendo DS remake. It's as bare bones of a remaster as you could get. The 16:9 aspect ratio in Sunshine works wonders for the game, and its HD makeover brings it much closer to Galaxy visually than 64. Unfortunately, one of the things that gave the FLUDD mechanic some charm on the GameCube was the system's analog triggers, allowing the player to dictate the device's water pressure. No such functionality is available on either Joy-Cons or the Switch Pro controller, meaning the FLUDD is either set to operating at 0 or 100% functionality. The game works around this missing feature, as certain levels relied on this mechanic on GameCube, by having the ZR trigger allow Mario to move while squirting, although with no ability to aim. The R bumper then forces Mario to stand in place, but allows him to target with the FLUDD. As someone that's never played the game before, I'm unsure of how drastic a change this is. Although from reading fans' interest online in how the port handles this mechanic, it seems like this may be somewhat of a disappointment to them. Galaxy is the title that required the least amount of sprucing up, so its visual bump made it nearly identical in quality to 2017's Super Mario Odyssey. Being a Wii title, motion controls were integral to that experience, and nothing has changed with this port. The Switch Pro controller's accelerometer and gyroscope provides the functionality of the Wiimote's IR blaster, although as I was playing it was obvious that having a device actually pointed at the screen would have been optimal. A tap of the R bumper recenters the star pointer, but it still feels less intuitive. How is that motion functionality handled in handheld mode? With touch controls, which is far and away the worst way to play the game. For those that don't know, the motion controls were designed as a way to scoop up star bits as you made your way through the level, as well as to shoot them at enemies and interactive objects. Attempting to do all this frequently with touch controls as you move Mario with the thumbstick is less than optimal, and makes the TV experience of the game by far the preferred way to play. The changes brought to 64 and Sunshine feel like the bare minimum of what could have been done to bring them into the modern day. It's clear that these minor tweaks were an attempt to fossilize them in their original form, but that only makes their shortcomings more obvious. Galaxy, however, is a near-perfect game, the age of which cannot be felt, as it was already ahead of its time and transcends most new 3D platforms to this day. For those whose favorite games list features the 3 titles in this collection, you'll probably be over the moon with the opportunity to play them all at any time on either your TV or on the go. Those that missed out on these entries in gaming history will likely have a tough time adapting to their controls, but will find wonder and joy in playing Super Mario Galaxy.